The master said he wants you dead, and so I'm gonna kill you till you're dead. Hello, everybody. This is on the topic of video games, episode 19. My name is Michael Nip, and as always, this is my co-host, Drewby.
I think I know what that's from, and I don't know, but that sounds familiar. So maybe I saw that in a clip or something. That's just it took me a second to think about what that might be from.
Yeah, that was pretty close, at least, to a clip or a taunt from the. Sorry, I don't know the name of the game. The Shadow. No. Middle Earth? Shadow of Mordor?
I think so.
I think it's Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. I think it specifically avoids saying Lord of the Rings for some reason.
Maybe they couldn't get the licensing?
It's Warner Brothers. They have the licensing.
Middle
In fact,
Earth.
they have the movie license because... Yeah, okay, Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor. Anyway, yeah, that was a quote that, as we talk about the game later on, will make more sense. Because when I originally heard that quote, I thought it was the stupidest thing ever, but it makes sense in context a little bit more. I got stung by a bee today.
Oh, fun. How? What were you doing?
I was mowing the lawn, and it made me angry. I was just mowing the lawn. It came up and stung me, and then I rage slapped my arm for a bit as I wiped him off and stuff, and then I was angry. But this is the show where we talk about video games on theculturemorepeople.com. I normally say that in the intro, but I forgot. Drewby, to get this show started, let's talk about the games that you've been playing. Have you been playing games?
I've been playing a little bit of games. Nothing a whole lot new. I continued on the path of Bioshock, not Bioshock Infinite, but the original Bioshock. Played a little bit more of that. I am now farther in that game than I've ever been before. Meaning that I've played this game before, and I'm playing it again, and I am past the point that I had played it at. So I am in new territory. I'm seeing things, and I will start seeing things that are new and unfamiliar. So I like that game. I've been farming on Saturday. Yeah, when I was playing Saturday, I was kind of farming some big daddies. One of the kind of earlier when I'd played through this game before, I thought that those situations were harder. They are a little bit difficult, but I'm able to approach them in a better way this time. I don't know if I'm just better at playing video games now, or maybe that's probably gotta be it, because they're not proving super difficult. So yeah, we played a little bit of that. Playing a little bit of the game, the mobile game, Threes, which I believe we might have talked about on the show before. Kind of been pulling that out and playing that a little bit here and there. I've been kind of on a bad streak recently. I haven't been doing too hot on that. I believe I am number one though of my friends who play that game, mainly you and your wife. I'm number one. So
We have a small circle. It's a triangle.
yes. I think you're the other two people on that. So playing a little bit of that. I was going to download some Drive Club, but I can't download that right now. That game came out this week. It came out today, and it'll be free on PS Plus.
News? Jeff?
Huh? What?
Go ahead.
What?
Free on PS Plus.
Yeah, they're releasing on PS Plus later this month at some point. Hopefully soon. So, and then I'll be able to play that a little bit as well. Outside of those things, I haven't really played anything new. So.
Okay, the breaking news is that Jeff Gershman just gave Drive Club a 2 out of 5 stars.
Oh, okay.
He just dropped it.
I didn't know what you were saying. I thought you were like what news? Like I shouldn't maybe not be talking about that, but okay.
I mean, Drive Club is maybe not be worth talking about. It doesn't seem like it's that great a game, but.
Well, I just think that that's Drewby, stop talking. That's news. We'll talk about that later, type of a thing, sort of thing. But anyway, 2 out of 5. That's a glowing review of that game. Kevin Van Ord gave that game 5 out of 10. So
Which means it was just average. It is like
mm,
dead center average.
mediocre, I believe, is the word associated with that number.
Oh, the curse of mediocrity.
So, other than those things, we did play a little bit of Fibbage. We were able to we were able to get more people into a match of that game. We
Some
had
7-player fibbage.
seven-player Fibbage. That game got harder with more people. Um,
I think it got funner, more funnest.
it was fun. I definitely lost it. In the middle of that game.
At one point, Drewby had to basically get up and go to the bathroom and wipe his face off, or he was going to throw up because he was laughing.
I had to pee. I was laughing really hard, and
He peed on himself.
I just got full
Just a
disclosure.
little bit.
Full disclosure. No, no. The point is, I lost laughing. That was a probably the best night of Fibbage. We've had that was more fun, I think, than probably when we were playing it, just the three of us. It helps to have more people, but it also made it harder. Like the difficulty level rose. Trying to figure out. I was able to pull out a couple matches. I come from behind. I think maybe at least once, probably twice. So
I feel like that game is basically like Whose Line Is It Anyway, where the points don't matter. It's just kind of there for the fun.
what's his line in that game? The show about
Where the questions are made up and the points don't matter. Is that what it is?
I think that sounds a little bit. That sounds right. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's
How far are you in Bioshock? Hour count.
well, it's messed on my. Okay, well, I have to do a little bit of math here. I believe I was at 5 hours, I think maybe, and so I'm at 9 hours now, so probably about 4 hours in.
Okay. Nice.
I am in. I don't know if you remember or not, but I'm trying to go to a farm. I am on my way or in a farmer's market, trying to get parts for a serum that's supposed to like save the trees. So
Are you for real? I don't remember that at all.
okay. It was you played it a while ago, so I mean, if you don't remember, whatever.
I specifically block out anything that involves saving trees. Like, screw those trees. Buzz them down.
Buzz them down. That's your opinion of trees? So, yeah. So that game was fun. I think I might be enjoying it more now than I was back in the day. I think you might laugh. You might laugh at me for this. I think one of the reasons is I'm able to control it a lot better, or I'm playing with a controller now as opposed to a keyboard and mouse. So I'm able to function in that game a little bit better. I think as that's at least one of the reasons for why I like that game, like why I'm enjoying it now more than I was before. So
Have you ever heard me say low hanging fruit before? It's the phrase low hanging fruit.
that sounds familiar.
It's a term I use when a joke is so easy that it's not even worth making, and that's
Okay.
kind of where we are at with your inability to use a keyboard and a mouse.
Okay. Well, I guess at that point does that mean that we move on then? We talk about because I think you probably have a game that's a little bit more interesting to talk about.
I mean, I guess then because it's at least a new game. Last week we talked about how I was going to pick, or I'd already picked up Shadow of Mordor last week, just hadn't played it. I don't think I played anything else, but I did play a lot of Shadow of Mordor. Oh, I played WoW, but we'll ignore that for now. A lot of Shadow of Mordor. I was able to beat the game just before the show, and I think it's a very good game.
Okay.
I was first. I'll talk about a little of the negative. I was getting into the story for a little bit, and we mentioned this before. Basically, there's no such thing as a good prequel. It's kind of what we determined, or very, very few instances of a good prequel that was instituted after something. Obviously, if it was written and then there was something that came after it, it may be good. But if there's something that was written as a prequel after the original fact, it's really hard to make that interesting in any way because you already know where the story is going to end up. So, for instance, if you're playing a Lord of the Rings game and you know that your enemies are someone like Sauron, and your game takes place before the story of the Lord of the Rings, you know you can't win. Like you know you lose.
Okay.
So it's really hard to have any level of like caring about specific things like that. Ultimately, I think the story just gets really corny and like really. It was. I don't know. It's hard to describe. And the way that I did the missions, because there's a one point where the game splits up where there's two separate story missions that you can do at the same time. And I use story missions in quotes because some of them have nothing to do with the greater story. And I don't know if I just did them in the wrong order or what, but they were completely unrelated to the main plot, and they led to like the most random things happening, and like the story just seems so disjointed at the end that it just kind of fell short. Anyway, I don't think that game has a very good story, but I don't think a game necessarily needs a good story, especially when it's a game that doesn't focus on the story very much. And that's probably one of the reasons the story isn't great, is because they don't explain hardly anything. But what they do well is they let you kill some orcs. So we talked about last week how I was hoping the combat would either be harder or easier than something like Assassin's Creed. I think they have a really good balance of making combat difficult but achievable, and it allows you to be strategic in various ways. And so, it's been talked about to death, but I'll bring it up again on the show. What is this game called again? Shadow of Mordor, whatever, has what they've called the Nemesis system. So, a little bit of background that I found out this week that I didn't know. This game was rumored to have originally been a Batman game that got reskinned to be something else. I don't know if they're trying to keep the Lord of the Rings license or what. But in a lot of ways, it does feel like a Batman game. The Nemesis system is a system overlaid on top of the normal open world things that are going on. And what happens is you have a hierarchy of orcs that range from lower ranking, and they have power levels assigned to them, to the higher ranking war chiefs at the very top. And there's, I think, 4 tiers of captain or whatever. I don't remember the structure, what it's actually called. But what happens is you are a character that is actually explained in the story to be undying and die multiple times, which is why the line at the beginning of the show made sense, where he says, "I'm going to kill you until you're dead," because they actually do kill you multiple times, but you keep coming back. So what happens is, if an orc kills you, you die, and then the orc, because he was able to kill you, gets promotion and levels up. So what happens next time is, if you go and you happen to be in a place where he is again, he will see you, recognize you, and be more powerful than the last time, and potentially kill you again. So what happens is, as these guys get more powerful and they either get away or kill you, they're leveling up, and you actually build up I believe they use the term emergent, which is basically a term to describe gameplay experiences that are not set by the designers, but are instead happen semi-naturally with instigation from the player. You're basically building up, as it's called, nemesis in the world naturally as you are losing to orcs in battle. And like in one of the final missions, there was an orc that had killed me like 6 times. That was in the final battle, and it was satisfying to remove his head from his shoulders when ultimately the time came. But the way that these nemesis, the captains of these armies, are constantly going around and doing different quests. And so you can be doing the story quests, you can just be exploring, and you will come across all these different captains in their various places in the world, and it leads to some very interesting encounters. I mentioned to you at one point I was trying to do a quest to kill one of the captains, and like 3 other captains showed up, and basically they just destroyed me. And like all of the captains will level up if that happens. So I mean, you can build a repertoire of enemies that you don't like at once. And I think that's the main draw of the game, is all this side stuff is really cool, as well as what it has the typical power fantasy build where you start a little bit weak and it's hard to defeat orcs, but by the time that you get the systems down and you start earning new moves from the upgrade system, and there's some awesome upgrades that are in the upgrade system, and you start feeling more powerful, you are able to better take out these orcs. So I finished the story, but I am nowhere near the end of the skill tree, and I do intend on continuing throughout that system, trying to level up, trying to unlock some of the special abilities, because some of the special abilities you can unlock at the end of those trees look super powerful and fun to play with. So I would like to get there. It's one of those open world games that I think I will go back and do a lot of the side stuff. Whereas like a game like Assassin's Creed, I'll finish the story if I play it usually, but I don't do too much of the other stuff. But like games like Infamous, I think the mechanics are fun enough that I will go back and do side stuff. I like the mechanics of this game, and I would like to... I got really close already once. Basically, if you start killing chiefs and you don't die, you can basically start eliminating large sections of the hierarchy. I'm guessing there's probably an achievement for eliminating like the entirety of an orc hierarchy. There's 2 zones that you can go to. Another thing that's really interesting that happens about halfway through the game is you gain the ability to basically mind control orcs. So not only are you cutting down captains, you can mind control other captains and put them in their place until eventually what happens at the end of the game, and it's part of the story, it's not really that big of a spoiler, is that you basically replace the entire, all the war chiefs with your own orcs. So when you go on the final battle, you have an army of orcs at your side fighting the bad guy's army of orcs. And it's one of the last battles with the army was really, really fun because you've got the bad guy's orcs, and then all these orcs that you've spent the time to both mind control and to like get promoted. Like you have to work to get them promoted sometimes by like helping them get up the tree and then helping them backstab the war chief to become the war chief themselves. So when you get in there, one of the orcs that I picked was just this really sweet-looking archer, and there was another cool-looking guy that I had. And so you go in there, and I'll be off fighting a war chief, one of the bad guy war chiefs in one corner, and like anytime a captain or a war chief is killed, it like slow-mo zooms in on their name, which a big giant red X through it, and it like shows them dying. Like I killed a war chief with like an arrow through the head, and so like shows this. It's a very violent game. Shows this like slow mo of this orc getting killed with an arrow through the head, and then like super disclaimer. The game is very extremely violent. And then like as the guy's like falling down still, it cuts over to one of my war chiefs who just lopped the head off somebody else, and then like it lops over to me again, and then like I do some stuff, and they get an execution. The lops over. So like my orcs were actually able to take out the war chiefs by themselves while I was taking out different war chiefs, and it just feels really cool to be able to deal with the politics of this orc army, and I think that's really the draw of the game, and the way that you can scout out potential orc chief targets and then track them throughout the world and then find out information about them, because all of them have different strengths and weaknesses and potential immunities. You can basically interrogate orcs to find out this information, and the way that you can figure this stuff out, I've actually mentioned to you outside the show that this game feels like what Assassin's Creed kind of wants to be. It's not a perfect comparison because Assassin's Creed, I think, tries to base a lot of stuff on a lot more on its plot, and it tries to have historical relevance. But the way that you are tracking down these grunts and finding out information about their captains, and then finding out about their captains, and then finding their captains, and like planning these awesome assassinations, feels more awesome than your average Assassin's Creed mission. And then when you figure out a chieftain's weakness, and you are able to go and then and be able to exploit the fact that he is weak to explosions. And so you track him down to his hideout, and you intentionally kind of wait on him to go near, a thing of grog, and you're able to shoot it and just blow him up in one hit without anyone ever seeing you. It's super satisfying, and it's also satisfying to go down into the orc camp and fight them both the stealth parts and the sword parts are extremely fun and satisfying. And because, as I mentioned before, the game can get hard with the amount of orc variety that it throws in there. The fact that you can die, it makes the attempts when you actually succeed at killing, you know, 50 orcs, extremely satisfying in a way that some games don't. We mentioned that it was I mentioned that it was a Batman game originally, potentially. We don't know that for sure, but a lot of signs point to that. It has Batman combat, and in a lot of ways, I think they've made slight improvements to Batman's kind of done the combat the best, at least up to this point, for sure. And some improvements, like being able to counter while you're in the middle of certain animations, where in Batman you can't, are just kind of really nice convenience features that Batman didn't have that this kind of adds on top. It's made by the same company, so I mean it's not like it's a super big ripoff or anything. They just feel good. Like the combat is good. It can be tough, but it's fair. It's very fair. And if it's unfair, it makes sense because there's 100 orcs on you, and you should probably not be able to defeat 100 orcs easily. You can, but it won't be easy.
How map size? What are we talking about? Is it comparable? What could you compare it to? Well, we can use Assassin's Creed 4 if that works, or
I don't remember Assassin's Creed 4. I'm sure it's not as big as Assassin's Creed 4. I feel like it's probably about the size of 2 Brotherhoods, but it's hard to compare directly because you can travel really fast.
Okay.
So maybe 1 Brotherhood. I don't know, because eventually, actually pretty quickly, you're able to get a power up that allows you to like jump over rocks. I mean, that sounds dumb. There's not a lot of cityscape because it's an orc. It's Mordor. I mean, so there's a lot of flat territory between the lands, and so there'll be rocks strewn about. And when you jump over them, you can press a button and basically get a ridiculous speed boost and just like super run. And so it's hard to compare the size to something like Assassin's Creed, which has more realistic like speeds that you're running. Where in this game you can just like hop over a bunch of rocks in a row because you're running super fast, and you can get from one side of the map to another very quickly. And so you're never traveling for that long, but there's enough random orc encampments / captains in between that you can still get distracted if you are so inclined. You mentioned before. Go ahead.
No, you finish your statement.
You mentioned before that you thought that you weren't sure how it would work because it didn't look like there was much cityscape as there is in Assassin's Creed to kind of climb on stuff. There are orc like fortresses that have more structures that you can climb around on. Overall, the parkour stuff is not as solid as something like Assassin's Creed. And it's not necessarily as necessary either because there isn't as much cityscape to be traveling on. So if you want to be jumping from rooftop to rooftop, that it really isn't in this game. But the ability when you go into an orc fortress, you can still climb the walls. You can climb extremely fast. Like, I'm not going to go into the lore a ton, but like you have the ability to do supernatural things. So you are able to like jump really high. So in Assassin's Creed, where you have, and obviously it's not perfectly realistic, but where you have more realistic climbing speeds and stuff, he's climbing rather slowly at points. You might jump like 2 stories and just grab onto a ledge like 2 stories up and then keep climbing. Like you can climb extremely quickly. And you can climb while people are shooting at you and stuff, something that's really hard to do in Assassin's Creed. So I think it just kind of streamlines the parkour stuff, which makes it, I think, fit better for this game, even if it isn't as probably good as Assassin's Creed. It feels better in this type of game where there isn't as much cityscape to be climbing on.
How dynamic, how real does the world feel? I guess the Nemesis system would play to that.
Something that's different. I'll answer it by going off on a little bit of a rabbit trail. Something that's different, and that is it does take away from the realism in some ways, but I think it's actually the benefit of the game, is Assassin's Creed, if you want to do a mission, you go to the area where the mission would start, and you have to make sure you aren't being chased. You have to make sure like the area is relatively safe and stuff, and then you're able to join the mission. No matter what you're doing in Shadow of Mordor, if you go to the mission start and you start the mission, it kind of resets everything. So you can be chased by 100 orcs and like start the mission, and it will reset everything. So in that aspect, it's not real, but I think that works to the game's benefit, because if you want to do the mission, you want to do the mission. You don't want to have to clear everybody out and then do the mission, especially hard when the mission is near a fortress. As far as things that are going on, there's a lot of side missions that are around. They don't fit into the world or lore that much, at least in ways that I think are that great. The side missions can be fun, but as far as like an open world game, it doesn't have a lot of things going on because you're just walking around in orc camps in Mordor. And when if you listen to the orc camps, like they're talking about things that you did in ways that are really cool. And you can find the captains roaming around, and you can go invade different people's, and the orcs have power struggles between them, so you'll run in on executions, you'll run in on battles that are going on. So, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for in a dynamic world. If the dynamic things that are going on in this world, which is basically the orc power struggle and the orcs hunting and the orcs doing stuff, that stuff is going on all the time, all over the place. If you're expecting to find other people and stuff, well, I guess there's lots of, like, they're humans as slaves, and there's tons of missions where you can either help the humans free them, or they can give you information on the captains and stuff too. So I don't know. It's hard to compare because a lot of the dynamic stuff is related to the Nemesis system in some way.
That kind of leads into my next question. What kind of side like mini missions are there? Like in Assassin's Creed, you've got a lot of people dread. People don't. Maybe it's fair to say a lot of people the stalking missions where you've got to stay within like here where you're eavesdropping on their conversations as they're kind of walking through a map, or you've got you can pickpocket. I don't know if that's a mission really anymore. What kind of like other side missions other than the main quests are there?
So the main quests, I'll just go over mission variety or mission types. Most of your mission types, and this is going to be funny when we talk about the last-gen versions of this game, a lot of the missions tie directly into the Nemesis system. So some of the story missions are kill this many captains, put your war chiefs in power. A lot of them are directly related to the Nemesis system. Some of that are not related to the Nemesis system are like missions where, like, there's one mission where you have to get poison to poison people's stuff, which I guess kind of relates to the Nemesis system because it gives you the poison power to poison orcs. But like you'll go around and you have to clear out an orc camp so you can pick the poison flower. Or there's some hunting missions where you learn how to like ride. You can ride animals that you can use as steeds to do mounted combat. And there's some missions teaching you how to do that. There's a couple missions. A lot of the missions basically serve as tutorials for new powers. So there's basically tons of missions related to that. There are some instances where you'll be following a character who's talking and telling you the story, like in Assassin's Creed. But they're few and far between. It's not like they're telling you long conversations. There's no stalking missions that I remember, short of like if you want to get a stealth kill on somebody, you might have to like follow their pattern through their fortress. Side missions, like actual side missions that you pick, there's lots of ones related to the Nemesis system directly. Like orcs are fighting, do this. Two captains are having a duel, decide the winner. Like there's all kinds of stuff related to the Nemesis system that show up as side missions on your map that you can start. There's also 3 different types. Well, there's a couple different types of collectibles, and those are just collectibles. I'll ignore those. And then there's types of side missions that relate to your weapons. Like there's dagger side missions, sword side missions, and bow side missions. And each of those basically just has you using that, like the dagger ones are all stealth missions, the sword ones are all fighting missions, and the bow ones are all bow missions. And that was really obvious. I don't know how to explain that. And ultimately, when you beat those, you get the ability to unlock the end tiers that I was talking about earlier, where you can get like an ultimate bow move, sword move, and dagger move. Which I guess your dagger is a broken sword, which is pretty cool. And those power ups at the end of those trees are awesome. It basically gives you like ridiculous, insane powers for 30 seconds.
How is the stealth in the game?
Very generous, which I think works. It's no what's that game with Sam Fisher in it?
Splinter Cell.
It's no Splinter Cell. It's very kind. Like if you get spotted and you go hide for like 30 seconds, they'll forget about you and kind of start walking around again, which I think
Metal Gear Solid.
Kind of. It feels even better than that in some ways. But the thing is, there's so many orcs everywhere. Like in Assassin's Creed, you can walk around a lot because I mean the worlds are huge for one. But like there's a lot of places you can just walk around. And in Assassin's Creed, you can walk around and guards won't care what you're doing if you're not doing murders or climbing buildings and stuff. In Shadow of Mordor, there's orcs everywhere. It's few and far between where you're in a spot with no orcs on your map at all. In fact, I don't remember ever being in a place where there were no orcs on my map at all, except for maybe just a couple small sections, because there's always orcs everywhere. And if they see you, they want to fight you immediately because you're human and so like it's not like Assassin's Creed where you can just walk around and the guards don't care. So the stealth section is pretty forgiving because they don't. If they followed you like they would in some other stealth games, you would never be able to get anything done because there's so many orcs all over the place. You're like constantly walking through their camps. Like if you want to go from one section to another, you're gonna walk through like 6 camps, and you're gonna want them to de-aggro pretty quickly, or the game would just kind of be broken the way it's built.
How is this game going to work in last-gen consoles with the Nemesis system taken out?
Okay, yeah. So real quick, or we'll go ahead and announce that. Basically, they said that they're releasing this game on 360 and PS3, but there's no Nemesis system because no one said, but we're assuming that the old consoles are not able to handle the functionality that's going on with the Nemesis system. And the answer is, I don't know, but I bet it's not a good game. Not that the systems in the game are bad, but if it's purely the systems with no Nemesis system and what I believe to be a rather throwaway story, I bet that game is not that fun. Okay. You could kill some orcs, you can shoot your bow, and that stuff works. Like it's not unfun to do that, but you can only do that without purpose for so long, especially when there's no good story driving it. That I really don't think that version. If you have a 360, I would not advise you playing that version if it doesn't have the Nemesis system. Okay. Large portions to most of that game are all Nemesis system that make it good. Even the combat, which I talk about being good, is made better because it works when you have orcs to be angry at because they've killed you 8 times and leveled up and gotten ridiculously powerful. Like the combat by itself is Batman combat, which is good. But even in Batman, if you were just playing challenge modes and you could never do the Batman story missions, it would just be like, well, this combat's fun, but there's nothing to do with it. Mm. So I would not recommend getting last gen's I mean, nothing has come out all the way yet, but if it's what it seems like it's going to be, the last gen versions are probably not good. You should probably look for a PC or a new console version.
Okay. Okay. Well, sounds interesting. Game. You had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I can let you borrow it when I decide that I'm done doing side missions and stuff. Or if I get some time, maybe I'll let you play through it as long as you promise to play through it quickly so I can get it back.
I got Bioshock right now. I've started a playthrough on Banner Saga. I've got games to play.
I want to do my thing where I just go and completely destroy the orc hierarchy. Like, have nobody there but the 5 war chiefs who are under my control, and then see if that's an achievement. If it's not an achievement, just feel awesome because you basically own the orc infrastructure. And there's
How,
2 sections of Mordor, so you could do that in 2 zones.
how many hours did you put into this game so far? What'd you say?
13,
13 hours.
I
And
think, yeah.
if you just focus strictly on taking out the captains and wiping out the Nemesis system, how long do you think that would take?
Like, from right now?
Well, like, one of the things I guess that I'm a little. It seems like there's few enough captains that I would be able to kind of clean through them if I did just those. Like it seems like I might get through that pretty easily. Am I wrong in that?
You have to do the story missions to get a lot of your abilities, and if you don't have those abilities, killing captains is extremely difficult. So at the very least, the game has it's adding time by making you learn the awesome stuff, and they are awesome. Like the moves that you are learning throughout the game are extremely useful and extremely cool looking at the same time. So you do want to do that. At this point, if I just wanted to go through and clear the Nemesis system, especially in the zone that I'm in, it wouldn't take very long because I already own all the war chiefs. Because I did, like, that was one of the story missions. A lot of the story missions I said are related to the Nemesis system, so I already have all the war chiefs, and if I were to go through it now with as many powers as I have, with only getting more powers, it probably wouldn't take very long. If I wanted to do that from the beginning, I didn't mention this, at the beginning of the game I was dying all the time. I wasn't ever accepting run away as an option, which you have to do sometimes early on, especially. Like, there will be times when you get 4 captains in the battle and you're like, I can't do it. Or you'll go into a stronghold and somebody will set off an alarm and orcs come endlessly on an alarm until the alarm is stopped. And, like, you can just straight up lose then, especially when you don't have a lot of your movement powers and stuff. Or, like, I don't want to spoil too many of the powers because they're just super fun to find out and then realize how much you like. There'll be times when you are trying to do stuff with killing captains and like you're having a really hard time, and then you go do a story mission and it gives you a new power and you're like, oh my goodness, this is the most revolutionary. Like this will make battling so much easier, and it does until you run up into a roadblock and then you are able to get another power and you're like, oh my goodness. Until like at the point where I am now, I still have lots more that I could learn from the tree, but like at this point I am not having a ton of difficulty taking groups out unless I get a huge battle. But that's another thing, like once you start owning the war chiefs, you can have them come on missions with you, and that makes it a lot easier. Fun note, the war chiefs can die even if they're under your control. So there were times when like I would have buddies with me and they would die and I have to go recruit somebody else because I had no buddies.
Alrighty then. Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, other than that, I played some World of Warcraft. I'm almost to Cataclysm. I'm well on my goal to be able to get through to 90 before the new expansion pack comes out. I'm looking forward to the new expansion pack. The videos that Blizzard has been putting out for the lore for the war chiefs. I don't know if they're called war chiefs. I'm getting this game confused now. For whatever the warlords. Of the game is called Warlords of Draenor. Are really, really cool and really, really dark and awesome. It's like the orc storylines for each of the main orc warlords, and I've only seen 2 of them. I think there's 5 out right now, but they're super tight, super solid. So I want to watch the rest of those. I'm excited to play some World of Warcraft and some new zones. I'm having a lot of fun doing Wrath of the Lich King stuff. I'm getting a lot of nostalgia. because I played that game like crazy during that time period, and I'm going to these dungeons and they're all, Warcraft 3 related, or a lot of them were Warcraft 3 related, and it feels really cool to be back in there and be able to fight the same people that I already care about. There's one dungeon that I hate from Wrath of the Lich King, because a lot of the stuff in Wrath of the Lich King, once you got geared up, you could just start face rolling stuff, which was rewarding in its own way, because stuff that was hard became a cakewalk, and that kind of feels good sometimes. There's one dungeon where no matter what you do, there's a timed section where you have to fight for a certain amount of time, even if it's so easy that like you can do it in your sleep. And so there was that dungeon which I got to do a bunch of times, where it's like I would pick any other I would pick a less experienced dungeon just so I didn't have to do this dungeon again. But I'm almost to Cataclysm, so that won't even matter anymore.
Are you gonna make a pit stop and kill Arthas again?
I don't think there's an easy way to kill Arthas, because you have to get a group together that's the appropriate level. Well, I guess if I wanted to make a pit stop to kill Arthas, I could probably level up to 90, get some gear, and then do... No, because even then, the way that those battles are set up, they require multiple people, even if you're way over-leveled. Certain fights. So, do you remember how much DPS you had in that game?
At the end of Cataclysm, we're talking 85.
You were trying to hit numbers, like the highest numbers we were seeing were like 20k.
I wasn't hitting those. I was getting...
You were getting like 12 to 15 sometimes. And like I'm not picking on you or anything. No, like the beast mode DPS at the end of Cata was like 20k.
Okay.
Running through dungeons at the beginning or at the end of whatever the expansion is, Pandaria, on my shaman, there are people pulling 300k or more.
Wow, that is
like the DPS is so much higher. Here's the craziest thing. I was in a dungeon with a hunter who was on average pulling 500k. And then we hit this zone, so we were beast moding this. Like, as much as the enemy's health has also increased, no matter how much their health has increased, at 500k, you're slaughtering mobs in a heroic. So we're basically face rolling this heroic, and we get to a section where this guy pulled 3 groups of enemies at the same time, so they were doing insane AoE damage. The hunter, for like 1 second on the DPS chart, had 1 million DPS. And I like flipped my crap out. I was like, holy, what is going on?
Was it just no big deal to him?
So high. What?
Was it no big deal to him? Was he just like, whatevs?
Nobody said anything in chat. Like, I don't know if they're just used to that or if, like, they're just so baller, but I lost my crap. I was like, that's like 1 million DPS. I didn't even know that was an attainable number. So, I thought that was awesome. Blizzard tries to balance things, and it makes sense. They try to crunch their numbers, so the numbers don't get to super ridiculous high numbers. In some ways, that's kind of satisfying, though. Like, remembering that last expansion pack, you were doing 20k DPS, and now you're doing like 400k DPS, that just makes you feel boss. I think that's awesome. So... yeah, I like that stuff. I'm excited to get into Warlords of Draenor and see if the lore is super interesting. But even if it's not, I really enjoy the process at the beginning of the end game of an expansion pack when nobody knows the dungeons and everyone's figuring them out for the first time and they're really hard. I really enjoy that kind of puzzle piece thing that goes on before everybody's memorized them and overgeared them and nobody pays attention anymore. I was able to do that a little bit with Pandaria. We did that a ton with Cataclysm. I will probably not ever be in a position where I could do that with raids again. But your regular 5-man dungeons, I was able to do that with Pandaria. I'd be able to figure out stuff with a group of people that also doesn't know what's going on. Everyone's way more forgiving and like kind. You feel like you have more camaraderie because instead of like feeling like people are being taken advantage of because their time is being messed up because you're a new player and they're trying to get through as fast as possible. At the beginning of an expansion pack, everybody doesn't know what's going on and everybody expects it to take a little longer and to be a little more difficult. So everyone's a lot kinder when it comes to, at least in my experience, figuring out stuff for the first time and like, hey, we messed that one up, but here's what we did wrong. Like that part of the experience is super fun for me. I like to pull that stuff apart and find out new mechanics, and healing is really easy right now. It's going to be fun to get to an experience where healing is more difficult again, because once it's really fun when stuff is hard and you're figuring it out. It's really fun to figure it out. It's really fun once you've figured it out to be able to face roll it and be like, hey, I have now mastered this section. But then after you get past the point where you are being happy for mastering it and you're just grinding it on loot, that's when it starts to slow down a little bit, which is why I've switched from my character who's max level, who stuff is kind of easy for. I've switched back to my leveling character where I'm tanking again. Like, that's where it starts to not be as fun. So being able to go back to a different character and do different experiences, that's what's keeping me into it, and I'm having fun on my way to 90.
Alrighty. Well, that's coming at the November.
I think it's like mid-November. I don't remember the real date.
Okay.
But I'm doing well. I'm pacing myself, so I'm not way ahead. I'm not way behind. I'm doing well enough that I think I'll hit max level, have a little bit of time to mess around at max level, and then be ready to just bust through into the new content.
There you go. There you go.
My brother got a 3DS. Did you hear that?
I knew he had purchased one. Do you know if he's received it yet?
Yeah, he got it last night, and I dropped off Ocarina of Time at his house today. So he's going to be playing that game. He watched me play basically the entirety, or almost the entirety of that game, so I hope it's fun for him the first time, even if nothing is super... Like, the puzzles he will not remember, but like the story and stuff, I'm sure he'll remember.
That was a while ago.
It was a while ago, and maybe it's different because he wasn't playing. I remember I could almost tell you how to do the entirety of the first dungeon, puzzles included, from memory now, and I haven't played that game in 2 years probably. Like, that stuff sticks with you when it's really good.
Well, when you have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, well, we've talked about, like, we have a friend that's playing through Dark Souls, and like I can just text him and have him tell me where he is, and I could tell him everything that's going on, because Dark Souls was such a wonderful experience for me the first time. Well, wonderful, terrible, like terrible in a good way, because it hit my face into the computer chair. It just sticks with you. You remember that stuff because it was so hard, and then it felt so good to accomplish, like to be able to succeed over that content, that you remember it. It sticks with you for a lot longer than, I don't remember anything about like specific missions in Brotherhood. Like, I like Brotherhood, especially for an Assassin's Creed game, but I can't tell you a lot of super specific things about it. Where like I said, I used to be able to like probably draw a map from the first dungeon and maybe the second dungeon of Ocarina of Time from scratch just from my head, because they were so memorable to me when I was a kid and they were scary and stuff.
Remember Cabra Demon from first game?
I do remember Capra Demon. I think that's actually where our friend is nearing Capra Demon on his playthrough. I just noticed one of our friends is playing Shadow of Mordor on Steam right now.
Yeah. So...
why is he not listening to our podcast? Why do we not have more people listening to this right now?
Because they don't appreciate good things, I guess. Did
you pick up Vib? So Vib Ribbon came out. That they announced that like one day before it came out that it was coming out. It was something that people really wanted when it came to E3, and they kind of teased it. Then they kind of said, "Oh yeah, it's coming out," and then it came out. Did you pick that up?
I have not picked it up yet. I think I will. I should do that. I should do that before the sale ends. It's like, I think I said $4.79 on sale if you're a PlayStation Plus. Actually, all right, and that doesn't mean it's not a sale. It is not a sale. It's if you are a member of PlayStation Plus, then it will be at a discounted price. It's only for, huh?
It's a sale if it's a PS Plus sale.
No, don't PS Plus members get stuff on discount? Like, I thought that was part. Is that not part of the service? Like some games are just discounted, or is that an actual like sale that everyone can take a part of?
It's a PS Plus sale. Like you only get specific games discounted at specific times.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I still need to pick that up before the price goes back up. So it was $6 or whatever. It's only available on Vita, PS3, and it's not. I don't think I don't think it's PS4 right now. Let me
Oh, that's really weird. I
check
looked
it.
at gameplay. It didn't look that fun. Like it looked kind of like your standard music upload. Like what's the really obvious one where you're like in a spaceship and you can fly back and forth?
Well, you've got there's a bit chip runner.
No, Bitchip Runner is different than that. Like you upload your own songs and it makes the tracks.
Oh,
like
that
fly-
sounds familiar.
This is what we need to chat because that game, everyone has that game from the indie bundles.
That's PS3, PS Vita, and PSP. So if you have a PSP, you can play it there.
I'm still trying to figure out that game. Oh, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
That's like striking a chord. Like it sounds.
Like it's on tablets, you just go left to right, and there's different colors that you pick up.
Is it a tablet game?
I'm sure it's on tablets too.
Um,
I'm just gonna Google. Let's see.
Star Fox.
Music. Nope. Video games. This is the way to drag on your show. Rhythm game. This is a way to drag on your show, so nobody cares about it. You know what? Scroll down. Scroll down. What?
Rhythm game.
Audio Surf. It's Audio Surf.
Yes.
The game everyone has and nobody cares about.
That's not. It's not what I was thinking of, but that's right. That's. I think I was probably thinking of something different. You can upload your own songs in that game.
If you have it on PC, it'll look at your computer and you can just navigate to any MP3, and it'll play MP3, and that it makes the track for you.
I don't think I have that on PC.
Oh, okay. Then I guess everyone doesn't have it. A lot of people have it, or a lot of people have seen it for sure. But yeah, it looks like that kind of game. Only instead of being a 3D thing where you race back and forth, it looked almost like Temple Run from a 2D perspective, where the course is your music. Is what it looked like to me, like a bit trip runner, that like an endless runner, obviously, where your music was the course, which is potentially interesting, but I don't. Just watching the quick gameplay video, maybe it was a bad demo. I don't understand all the hype around that game. Maybe it was just one of the first ones where you could upload your own music and it be a course, because that would be cool.
Mm. Okay, yeah, Viperman is out, so you can go pick up that. And I think I saw something that they will release it later on the PS4, hopefully, or something. I hope they do. That one's I believe it's a cross-buy, so that's cool.
Nice.
Also cross-buy. I think this is a story that was released this evening. Well, it was a story that was released this evening, at least on Polygon. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is cross-buy on Sony, PS3, and PS4.
That's cool. It's a good feature. I love cross-buy. That is a sweet feature that I hope gets accepted as the norm.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think I bought Spelunky for the Vita, but when I bought it, it's not cross-buy. I think when it goes on onto PS Plus later, this month, hopefully soon, that download is cross-buy. I think that might be so.
Okay.
Speaking of downloads, we mentioned Drive Cub earlier. That it's not really doing well, and it is not doing really well in the critics in the reviews. You mentioned earlier Jeff Kirchman gave that one a 2 out of 5. I mentioned GameSpot gave it a 5 out of 10.
Polygon gave it a 7.5.
I was rolling through. GameSpot has a review roundup where they just post a bunch of different review scores. The highest one on this list is from PlayStation Universe, and they gave that game a 9.5 out of 10.
So I don't want to get huge into the Gamergate conspiracy stuff, but I've always thought it was super really dumb and weird that you had review sites basically owned by the people that are like, you have PlayStation owned PlayStation review sites that of course give all the PlayStation games way higher reviews than like the average critic. And it's like, okay, I don't like to get super conspiracy theory here, but you have an ulterior motive to give that game a high score. Like, that's really jacked.
I don't know if we should necessarily be going to them for something like that, but
It's even weird that they exist, because who really does? I don't know anybody that checks, like, oh, I'm going to go check out the new Gears of War review in the Xbox magazine. Because, of course, they're going to review Gears of War positively. Like, they have to.
This is not really relevant to what we've just been talking about, but my CPU is at 98%. 100%.
Your CPU's wet. Oh, nice. You should probably fix that.
I'm going to start shutting some stuff down.
Nice. Anyway, let's see. Anything else big going on in games? There's a bunch of games starting to come out. We're entering the crazy season. Nothing that I am super into until Dragon Age, which is November, I think. Super Smash Bros. Came out on 3DS. Until I know more people that are in it, I probably won't get it. Anything else that we're missing?
Alien Isolation. That's a game that's come out.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about this. I was going to talk about this earlier. Last Halloween, our site did a thing called Halloweeny, which is on Halloween. We both posted videos of us playing scary games and eating wieners, and we're planning on doing that again this year. So we got to pick a game to play on our Halloweeny run. Have you selected a game?
Well, I've talked to you a little bit about this, about playing maybe just picking up for Dead Space and playing that. My brother would like I think me or you or somebody to play Pinewood Drive, which is a Steam horror game right now that he played the demo for, and he said that was scary. So we've got
I've never heard of that game. Who made it?
I don't know. It's indie, and my Steam is shut down right now, so I can't check.
Pinewood Derby,
Pinewood
Derby.
Drive.
Are you sure it's called Pinewood Drive? Pinewood Drive, Steam.
It's
Pinewood Village? Nope. Pineview Drive?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Pineview Drive is an indie game that has a 58 Metacritic.
I think that sounds about right.
It's $20. I don't know if I want to pay $20 for a game with a 58.
I don't have.
Maybe if it drops on sale. I'm sure there'll be Halloween sales.
So we gotta pick it. So I can either pick up and go off, pick up from where I left off last year. I've talked a little about maybe doing like little spurts and not necessarily playing several hours on Halloween, but maybe playing through a little bit more of that game. Just between now and then, I guess we'll see what happens. Do you know what you would like to pick up?
I think I'm leaning towards Fear right now. Amnesia was okay, but it didn't work, I think, super great for what we're looking for. It was a long, drawn-out video where you barely saw the monster before I had I was getting scared the entire time, but it wasn't like a lot of things were happening. I think I'm going to look for a more active game. Horror games are extremely effective on me, so I think something like Fear, which may have more action, might get to me more. Part of me wants to kind of cheat and play what's that game? No, not PT. What's that game that I already want to play? That I own already. Twin Peaks.
Oh, A Deadly Premonition.
Part of me really wants to play Deadly Premonition because that could easily be classified as a horror game, but I know that game is not going to really be that scary. So I should just play that game on my own time anyway.
Yeah,
Because
you should
I
just play
don't
that
like
game anyway.
So I just need to play that game. Um, but I could totally classify that as horror. No, I think I'm leaning towards Fear probably. I own Fear. I've played it before. It scared the crap out of me for the half hour I played. So
Okay.
I'll know what's coming for the first bit, but I'm sure it will scare me on some level again.
How much would you like to see me play PT?
I don't think you would care about PT. You already know what's coming.
Okay.
Like I
Well,
think you're,
I haven't watched
here's
the
the thing.
entirety of the thing. I've watched up to the first like big jump scare that, and you know what I'm talking about with that. You should know what I'm talking about with that. And then, because that, you know what I'm talking about, the first big jump scare.
I mean, is it the first ghost thing?
No, it's the part where you go down and then like it's the part where you die first.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that part. I've seen like up to that and a little bit past that, but I haven't seen like the entirety of the thing. So
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, I don't know if you. I think video game scares may be less effective on you than me. Like, I think movies are worse for you than me. I think games are worse for me than you. So it's hard to tell what would affect you. Like on some level, the problem with PT is even people that normally get scared, like even Patrick Klepek, our sister site Giant Bomb, when he was playing PT, which scared the crap out of him in the beginning. By the end of that demo, it gets super vague and like annoying and stupid. So like all the scariness is lost. So I don't know if that's a great demo. I would love to if Silent Hills came out or something.
isn't
Otherwise, that would make a good demo.
PT is the demo for Silent Hills or Silent
Yes.
Hill? Okay, I wondered.
It was the secret announcement trailer for Silent Hills.
I wondered if it was like Fear or something. But I didn't remember.
I think Fear's done. I mean, obviously they could bring it back, but
From
I don't think they're actively.
Rear?
For Threer was the end of that trilogy, I think.
All right.
So.
Well, I guess that
Yeah.
you and I have to do some looking to figure out what we're gonna play for that.
Yeah, in fact, if you want to
Mhm.
suggest games, you can email us at theculturemypeople@gmail.com or tweet at us. Drewby, where can people find you if they want to tell you stuff?
If you want to suggest a video game for me to play for Halloweeny, or if you just want to tell me that you like the show or whatever, you can follow me on Twitter and tweet at me. Twitter.com/Drewby132. That's DREWBY132. So, Facebook.com/ is it Drewby132?
I'm pretty sure it's Drewby 132. You usually say it's Drewby 132.
Okay. Okay. So that's on Facebook, and then if you want to go even further and follow me on Google Plus, Twitter.com, and then on my profile, Drewby132. There's a link to my Google Plus profile, and you can follow me there. But you can either send an email to the site, or just tweet at me, and that's how you can get a hold of me.
Nice. As I mentioned before, my name is Michael Nip. You can find me at twitter.com/MichaelNip, MichaelNipp, or facebook.com/TheRealMichaelNip. Also, we mentioned before, you can email us at theculturemypeople@gmail.com. The website, culturemypeople.com, has a Twitter account that tweets when there's new stuff posted there. That is Culture of My Peep, where you can find that. You can also find this podcast, the audio version, on iTunes. Search for The Culture of My People. Leave us a 5-star review and some reviews. We'd like to hear that stuff. We'd like to hear feedback, what you like, what you don't like. We're also on BeyondPod for Android users. That's our favorite Android podcast app, and I've tried 5 or so. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Did I miss something?
I mean, you meant there's the email which you mentioned earlier on the show. So I think unless there's another game. So.
No. So play some video games, people. Video games are fun. That's why we do this.
Video games.
Yeah. For me, Michael Nip, this is the on the topic of video games, and I don't know how to wrap up the show, so this is my co-host,
Drewby.